So this question is actually extremely complicated, and the more I looked into it, the more I realized that, what a shock, history is complicated. The Viverdi were not a solitary tribe, they were actually just the Danish word for the Winds. The Windish were a cultural group, essentially, kind of like how we refer to a lot of, say, the Anglos, the Jutes, the Saxons, the Frisians, etc., as Germanic tribes, or they're coming from Germanic descent, that sort of thing. That's kind of how the Winds were. Now, there were a handful of Windish tribes that did end up migrating over into Denmark or thereabouts at around the tail end of the 8th century. The largest quote unquote state of that would be the Oblatoi, or the Obrets, or whatever the term exactly is. They did end up expanding across what is now northern Germany and probably into sections of Denmark, but other than that, there weren't actually really any other tribes that weren't just ultimately Danish in the end. Of course, you had the Jutes, you had the Angles, and you had the Totocots, but the Totocots ended up being migrated by the end of the Roman age, essentially, and then you just had the Jutes and the Angles, and then, of course, the Danes that migrated across the channel, and they ended up gradually taking over what is now Jutland, and through that, they incorporated the Jutes into their own cultural identity, and they ended up incorporating what was left of the Angles as well.